Are the Detroit Lions in major trouble? We talk about it next here on Four Verts. My name is Harrison Graham. Welcome into the program. The Lions hit with another piece of bad news today and kind of got me thinking that this team could be in a little bit of trouble, more than the average person would think. So we're going to kind of break it all down here. Frank Ragnow, somewhat surprisingly, at least to the public, retired earlier today, calling it a career at just 29 years old. Now reports have come in the last couple hours that the Lions were bracing for this possibility. They did try to convince him to stay, but he ultimately decided not to. He basically said, I got nothing left to give, yada, yada, yada. So he's out. And their starting center, who's one of the best in the NFL, walks away as Detroit, who's had a couple of really good years here, is trying to break through and take that next step and at least get to a Super Bowl. And let's face it, it's been a very difficult offseason for the Detroit Lions. And now part of that is when you're really good, you're going to lose people. You can't pay for everybody. You can't keep coaches because they get better opportunities, so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, is it possible we look back at this and it's like, what did you really have to show for it? So again, we're going to break it all down as I think this team is a prime regression team, at least a little bit, for 2025. All right, subscribe to the channel if you guys want NFL offseason content every single day. Four Verts is the channel for you. Hit that subscribe button. We're kind of in the time of year. There's not a ton going on, so we'll try some different segments. We'll break down some different teams. Obviously, when there is big news that drops and big storylines, we'll react to all of that. Some teams have mandatory minicamp this week, so still things going on, but certainly not a lot of big news. So when we do get news, we will react to it, and when we don't, we'll crank out some other content. So should be a lot of fun. Okay, let's talk about the Lions' 2025 exodus because they have lost quite a bit. I think their biggest loss, and most people would probably say this, is losing Ben Johnson to the Chicago Bears. When you've had the best offensive coordinator for 3 years, and I mean offensive coordinator who's just the OC, right? I mean, like Andy Reid is the OC for the Chiefs because he calls the plays, but he's the head coach as well. I would say for non-head coaches that call plays, Ben Johnson has easily been the best offensive coordinator and probably overall coordinator for 3 years running. Per EPA, Detroit's had the number 2 overall offense the last 3 seasons. They've been fantastic, and I think he's been a big reason why. Now, obviously, they're very talented. Jared Goff's a good quarterback. They've had a good offensive line, running game skill group. He had a lot to work with, but I don't think it's a coincidence that Jared Goff reached a new level in his career under Ben Johnson that he couldn't even reach under Sean McVay. So losing that guy, that feels like a big deal. Doesn't mean it's going to crumble, but are they going to average 33 points per game? Probably not. I would say there's going to be some growing pains under their new offensive coordinator. Okay, their other coordinator, defensive coordinator, Aaron Glenn, he goes to the Jets. Again, listen, when both your coordinators leave for head coaching jobs, you're doing something right. That's also a lot to replace. I think Ben Johnson is a bigger loss from an X's and O's standpoint, but Aaron Glenn is a huge loss from a leadership intangible standpoint. You know, I could take or leave him as a defensive coordinator. I think he's pretty good, but I don't think he's like one of the best in the league. I don't think he's Brian Flores or something like that. But his leadership, it was almost like having a second head coach, right? Holding players accountable. Dan Campbell leaned on him a ton. He played in the league for a long time. Like, you're already seeing a lot of positive reports out of New York because he's a guy who can set a culture. Now, obviously, Dan Campbell can do that as well, but all head coaches like having that second guy that they can really lean on, that they can really trust. I'm not saying Dan Campbell doesn't have that now. I'm saying it's not Aaron Glenn because he's no longer in the building. So, and we saw last year with the amount of injuries they had on defense, for Aaron Glenn to keep that unit somewhat together as guy after guy after guy went down, that's a big loss. It's not going to be easy to replace what he meant to this team. Okay, 6 more assistant coaches left. I mean, Detroit losing 8 coaches, 2 of them to head coaching jobs. It's difficult. We already mentioned Johnson and Glenn. Tanner Engstrand joined Aaron Glenn in New York to be his OC. JT Barrett leaves Detroit to become the Bears quarterbacks coach. Antwaan Randle is now the receiver coach in Chicago. Also got assistant head coach title. Steve Hayden left to go be an offensive line coach for the Jets. Terrell Williams is the Patriots defensive coordinator. Cameron Davis they parted ways with as well. Like, there is just no way you were going to convince me that a team lost more than Detroit from a coaching standpoint, not just the volume, but the quality of coaches here. 2 head coaches. People view Antwaan Randle as a potential future head coach. JT Barrett's a talented up-and-comer. Engstrand has the ability to be a good offensive coordinator. Like, it's a lot. It is a lot of people that Dan Campbell lost. And now I kind of look at this Lions organization, and my thought for this year, the story for the Lions is we're about to find out just how valuable Jared Goff and Dan Campbell are, just how good they are. Because listen, I'm a Dan Campbell fan. I think what he's done there has been tremendous. But before he made the switches, especially offensively, to Ben Johnson at OC, that thing was not looking good early. Now, part of that was they got more talented, so on and so forth. But I think people think the Lions is like incredible job turning it around. And it is, but it's not like it clicked right away. And assistant coaches had to be fired for other guys. And the reason I bring that up is, well, the guys you promoted, they're now gone. They're elsewhere. So the ability to choose good coaches again to replace those guys, that's really the only way it works if you have a CEO head coach. Because it can change quickly. That's the risk of having a CEO head coach. That's why a lot of teams lean into their head coach being a play caller offensively or defensively, because you know at least one side of the ball is always handled, and it's not changing. There's not a revolving door. Well, now Dan Campbell's had so much success, which is a kudos to him, but can Ben Johnson's replacement keep the offensive juggernaut rolling? Can the new guy replace Aaron Glenn's intensity? We're about to find out, but if they pick up where they left off, Jared Goff, Dan Campbell, they're kind of the straw that stirs the drink. Okay, and then they lost 4 starters, which isn't a crazy amount, but when you're in this Super Bowl try-to-win-it-all window, it's not insignificant, right? And they lost several contributors as well. But the 4 starters they lost, Carlton Davis, we'll get to him in a second because he's actually been at least somewhat properly replaced. They cut Zadarius Smith, which I wonder if they could still bring him back. Kevin Zeitler left for Tennessee, who's a very good veteran guard. And they just had Frank Ragnow retire. He's done. Carlton Davis got replaced because they did sign DJ Reed. I think that's, even if he's not quite Carlton Davis, he's a good player. So, and they saved $12 million there. Davis got $20 million per year, 3 years, $60 million. They gave DJ Reed 3 for $48. It's like, okay, you got a lot of expensive players. I get that one, but the others, they're banking on draft picks, and they really haven't replaced Zadarius Smith at all. That's 9 sacks, by the way. But that interior offensive line is going to be interesting this year because Graham Glasgow was probably their weakest link last year. He's still there, but he's now the most proven interior guy. He did not have a great year last year. Ragnow is gone. Kevin Zeitler's gone. Your 2 bookend tackles are there. That's important, but the interior is a lot of question marks. Glasgow, you at least think is a serviceable vet, so you've got that, but Christian Mahogany, second-year player, that's a question mark. He hasn't done much. Tate Ratledge and Miles Frazier, 2 players they drafted, which good forward thinking because with Ragnow retiring, you needed some depth there, but now you're needing 1, if not both of those guys to start. 3 of these 4 players are going to start in the interior, and by the way, none of them are really centers. Tate Ratledge was getting first-team center reps during OTAs. You know how many snaps he took at center at Georgia? Goose egg, 0. Not sure if he played any center in high school, but if he did, that's the only time he's played center, and that's a different ballgame. You go from Frank Ragnow, one of the best in the game, to potentially a rookie who's never played the position. That's a big deal, man. That's not a seamless transition. I have real concerns with that interior O-line, and if there's 2 or 3 question marks in there, well, that impacts the whole unit. This could go from being a solidified top 3 offensive line to still probably good with the tackles, and, you know, if at least one of those 3 interior guys is good, okay, it's still a top 12, top 15 unit, but the chances of it being as good as it's been are basically slim to none. Like, you are going to take a hit there, and by the way, Jared Goff, as good as he is, if you get pressure on him, he doesn't move. Historically, if you can get pressure on him without blitzing, he is not the same guy. And I think that's going to be a real hurdle that he's going to have to jump through this year if he wants to continue his same level of play. And oh, by the way, on top of all this, what about Aidan Hutchinson? I mentioned you cut Zadarius Smith, didn't really replace him. You re-signed Marcus Davenport, who missed all of last season, but what is he at this point? I get he's been medically cleared, but we have no idea how effective Hutch is going to be in this first year back from that nasty leg injury. Maybe he's the same guy. Maybe he's better. Or maybe it kind of takes a year to get back to elite player. Maybe it's kind of up and down. Maybe it's a little slow. And if it is, you don't really have that dominant pass rusher. Like, I just look at Detroit and look, they won 15 games last year, so I'm not sitting here acting like they're going to go from like a 15-win team to like a 7 or 8. But could they drop to like a 10-win team and be a wild card team? I'm more so wondering, did they miss their Super Bowl window? Like, is that possible? Now, they could retweak, they could tinker, maybe with some additions for next year. I don't view them right here, right now, for 2025 as a major Super Bowl contender. View them as a playoff team that could make some noise, but I don't think they're better than they were last year or the year before. Not on paper and not with the new coaching changes. Like, even if these coaches are awesome, there's still going to be a learning curve. Like, there always is when you are installing new things. And even if you're going to run similar offense, it's still going to have new verbiage. It's still a new guy calling the plays. It's not going to be the same. So I think it's going to be difficult for Detroit. And by the way, you're in the hardest division in football. Like, the NFC North is very good. Green Bay is still very good. The Vikings, if J.J. McCarthy is just solid, still a loaded roster. They made some key additions, by the way, this offseason. Whatever we think about Chicago, on paper, they're a lot better, and they just took your offensive coordinator and multiple other assistants to coach them. So, if I'm Detroit, I'm a little nervous today. I'm like, man, we just lost another key piece. Did we miss this window? It's just crazy how quick these windows can open and shut. I mean, we do this in the NBA all the time, right? When the Celtics won the title last year, we all thought, well, they're probably going to win. I don't know. Could they win 3 out of the next 4, 3 out of the next 5? Could this be the next Warriors? Well, they lose second round. Tatum tears his Achilles, and all of a sudden it feels like they got to retweak their whole team. A little different in football, larger roster. Detroit still has a lot of key cogs, but coaching matters a ton in the NFL, and they lost a lot of it. So I think Detroit could be a prime regression team. Still good, but maybe not quite that Super Bowl level team. Did the Lions miss their window? Is it already gone? Has it already opened and shut? Type Y for yes, they did. Type N for no, they did not. I'm not ready to give a firm yes, but if you ask me today, do I think this is one of the 2 or 3 best teams in the NFL this year? Today, I would probably say no. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of 4 Verts. Let us know if you enjoyed this video. And don't forget to subscribe. We're continuing to grow. We'll see you guys next time.